It's all about breasts. This is Michele Garber, your host, the Nip Tuck Coach, and you are listening to the Nip Tuck Talk Show, a special series called Boob Talk. In part 1, I interviewed plastic surgeons and patients about breast augmentation with or without a lift, how to choose implants, and some of the latest techniques in breast augmentation surgery. In part 2, we're talking about how to take care of your girls. Beautiful, healthy, and happy breasts. Do your breasts define you as a woman? And do they have an impact on your sexual relationships? We'll shed some light on breast implant illness and talk about breast reconstruction and mastectomies. For this series, I've selected and interviewed the top plastic surgeons and medical experts whose expertise is in breast surgery and health. Patients have also shared their journeys. You will learn how to choose a surgeon and what to expect. With honest talk and information, you will feel empowered and minimize your risks. If you love this podcast, the best way to show your appreciation is to share our show with your friends, rate and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. Information and show notes are available on niptucktalk.com. Thank you for joining us. I love spending time with you. Now, let's get on with the show.
That's the biggest thing that we've already touched on, is just that awareness. When you have an awareness, then you have the first step of empowerment, because then you're going to want to know more. And if anything comes from this conversation today, I hope it's that people become more aware that our breasts are more than just this thing that lives on the front of our chest. They're actually very complicated.
Hi, everyone. This is Michele Garber, and you are listening to a special series called Boob Talk on the Nip Tuck Talk Show. Today, we are switching gears a little bit away from breast augmentation and implants, and we're going to talk about the health of our breasts and how breasts define us as a woman, or do they define us as a woman? I think that this is a really important subject to talk about because there's so much out there that emphasizes larger breasts, and we really don't talk about our breast health. And do girls with bigger breasts really have more fun? Is that a fallacy? Is that true? How do you feel about it? So with me today is Dr. Colleen Hathaway, and Dr. Colleen Hathaway is a chiropractor in Wisconsin. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. We are in San Francisco and you're in Wisconsin, so it's a different time zone.
Yes, ma'am.
How's the weather in Wisconsin?
It's beautiful. It's about 80 degrees and sunny.
I've never been to Wisconsin.
It's beautiful here. I think you'd like it. There's a lot of space.
A lot. We don't have a lot of space here.
Exactly.
We're very crowded here in California, especially I'm in San Francisco.
Come on out anytime.
Okay. Dr. Hathaway is a licensed chiropractor in the state of Wisconsin. She's been in private practice for over 20 years and adores working with people of all walks of life. Her philosophy is grounded in the principles of wellness, balance, support, and human performance. Patient education and home exercise routines are an important part of all care plans. Dr. Colleen is active in numerous chiropractic ventures, and her most notable experience was a trip to Brazil, where she provided chiropractic adjustments for hundreds of people. She's a member of SOTO, a Reiki master and trained craniosacral therapist through the Upledger Institute. On a personal note, Colleen enjoys rollerblading, hiking, yoga, golfing, and all things natural. She was inducted into the Edgewood High School Athletic Hall of Fame in 2013. You must be really fit.
Well, for me, I go by the principle that you have to keep moving to stay healthy. And that's a principle that I live by every day. Correct.
Well, that's a great principle. All right. So you're a chiropractor. And how did you get involved with breast health?
Well, that's a really excellent question, actually. Well, over the years, in the last 20 years or so, about 85% of my practice has been with women. And as I've supported women through their health and wellness, I have come to notice that women inevitably run into breast issues, health problems, scares where they'll have a mammogram and they'll have a scare and they don't know what to do in the meantime while they wait for the information to come back. And including I've had 2 patients pass away from breast cancer. And I'm also a woman, so I've had issues with my own breasts. And, I have a wellness philosophy. So I know that the philosophy that I apply to the rest of the body also applies to the breasts. So over the years, I've been teaching women one-on-one concepts about how to take care of their breasts and what we can do besides an exam and a mammogram to take care of our breasts. And that has kind of culminated. I had a couple patients come to me and just say, you know what, Dr. Colleen, you should put this all together in one place so you can share it with a bigger audience. And so that's essentially what I've done. For the last couple of years, I've created an online class that teaches women about how to take care of their breasts, basically beyond just an exam, because that's our first exposure to breast care is an exam that's basically done to us. And it's a very fear-induced situation, right? We're 12 to 14 years old, and we're getting taught how to look for problems in our breasts, which is important, right? But we're really missing the boat in teaching women how to take care of their breasts from a health perspective. So that's my background in it, is that I just wanted to get the information out to more women to help themselves.
Well, that's very interesting because when I think of breasts, I don't think about breast health other than checking my breasts to make sure there's no lumps and getting mammograms. But beyond that, I really don't think about my breast health, so to speak, or when I use cream for my face and my neck. And after a shower, I will put it all over my breasts to make sure that my breasts stay nice and soft. But as you age, of course, your breasts, they fall. Gravity pulls them down unless you get implants. And working in the plastic surgery industry, as we spoke before, in fact, a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills that I interviewed recently said to me that a woman without breast implants in Beverly Hills is like a unicorn. They don't exist. So listeners out there, if you live in LA and you don't have implants, you're a unicorn. So what is that?
Yes.
What does that say? And we also talked about beforehand that I'm in some private Facebook groups, and I've interviewed women that have really large implants, and the doctors that I've interviewed for this series are really down on large implants, and they're saying they're really unhealthy for you. And a 650 is something you should not consider. And yet there's a lot of young girls who think these huge breasts are what is going to make them feel better and look better. And so there's a whole psychology here about having big breasts. And it's like I said in the beginning, do girls with bigger breasts really have more fun? And men, of course, they look at a woman immediately if she's got large breasts. They just stare at the breasts. My older daughter is fortunate to have large breasts. I remember when she was younger in high school, she would buy these little bras that were 2 sizes too small. And she had these big breasts, and she would lift them up. And then as she got older, I noticed that her clothes seemed to get a little tighter. She was still young in her 20s. Her breasts really defined her at that time of her life. Now they don't. Now it's like, you know what? I think one day I'm going to get a reduction. Now she's in her late 30s. So things have changed in her life and her philosophy has changed a little bit. This philosophy that we have about our breasts and when we're young and don't have breasts. And some girls have really big breasts and they feel embarrassed about them. Some girls are flat chested and they're embarrassed about that. And some breasts are never perky, even at a young age. And then they're embarrassed about that. I want to talk a little bit about the psychology behind all this and get your take on it. What's your belief?
Well, this is basically this is the $1 million question. And this is ultimately what got me going on this subject, was because my feeling, the common theme working with women is that breasts are complicated and they're loaded. And you nailed it exactly, is that either some women are flat or some women are very large breasted. And the extremes we go through and the perceptions we have in our minds about what breasts are about come from social pressures, come from movies, magazines, family members, friends. All of a sudden, we start to grow breasts and we're getting teased or we're getting looked at, and we're not taught what to do with that. It's really a big problem. And the psychology behind it is that we're basically programmed as young girls and young women. And basically, our 20s are very stressful when it comes to breasts because we don't understand what our breasts are all about, because they are complicated. They're sensual, they're sexual, they can become functional if you have a baby. So all of a sudden, then you're keeping a child alive. You may be getting augmentation somewhere along the road there, which changes everything. So the psychology is really complicated. And I think it's a subject that needs to be talked about in younger women. And we need to be doing this job as women, helping other girls and women understand where their breasts fit into their life and that they need to control and own what their breasts are all about. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And so what are some ways that we can do that? Because there is a lot of pressure out there. Let me step back for a moment. You talked about nurturing babies with your breasts. I didn't want my husband near my breasts. My breasts became sacred to my children. Some men, they want to suck the milk. They want those big boob. They want,
right.
And
That's
they want to
common.
Right. And they want to taste that breast milk.
Of course they do. Right. And they're like triple the size, right?
And they don't know and understand what that means to the mother. And also breastfeeding is uncomfortable at first.
Yeah.
I remember how hard my breasts used to get, and that feeling, and that sometimes they get so hard. It's uncomfortable. You're right. I never thought about my breasts as being complicated. They just were there. I used them for breastfeeding. Then as I aged, they got saggier. I just never really focused in on my breasts like a lot of other women
even
do.
Think back into like high school, the teen and early 20s when you start to realize that people want to touch your breasts. That's a whole nother psychology that isn't talked about. We just kind of do it or learn about it by doing it. But we don't have mothers or sisters telling us,
Right.
It can actually be a really great thing. But when you don't talk about it, you don't understand how you can use your breasts sensually. We can use them sexually. And as women, we're always showing our breasts off, right? Or we're trying to, or I went through a phase where I was hiding because I was small and I was embarrassed and I would round my shoulders forward and I didn't want anyone to look at me, and the idea of anyone touching me scared me. And we don't have resources that we can talk about that. I think the biggest key is beginning the discussion about the breasts, with young girls, mothers and sisters and grandmothers talking to girls about their breasts. And then as we go through life, having open conversations, because when you are nursing a child and you go through that transition, you don't want your partner or your husband to touch your breasts at that time, because they are there to feed a child. They are not there for anything else. And we don't have that conversation because it's scary. So really what I'm encouraging women to do is have that conversation, be brave, and talk to people, talk to your partner, talk to your husband about those feelings and about the things that are going on inside of you. And that's an important step that we are not given permission to do very often in life.
Well, don't you think then it really should start with the mother at a young age? When a mother talks about sex with her daughter and her daughter starts to develop, that would be a really good time to talk about what the breasts are, how are we going to take care of these things? What's their function? Just the whole philosophy. I don't know if mothers talk to their daughters about breasts. I never talked to my girls about their breasts. They developed and we went bra shopping and
what do they mean?
We didn't talk about them. And so,
but we don't talk about them, right? We just go shopping. Well, bless my girls, because my girls are getting an earful from me. I have 2 daughters. And that's where it has to begin, really. It has to begin right there. And the mothers have to start learning first. And then it starts very practically.
What would you say to young moms out there that are listening that have breast implants, for instance, and they have young children? And so now they have implants and they have daughters and they're Daughters are developing.
Well,
What's the message to
really
give
simple.
to our daughters?
I think the first message is that we have to start talking practically about breasts. Like you're developing breasts. Here's what's going to happen, and here's how we're going to take care. I'm going to teach you how to take care of your breasts, and this is why. We're going to learn how to massage our breasts. We're going to learn proper bras that we can wear that support our breasts, which we can talk about that later. And the young mothers need to first learn about how to take care of their breasts. And that's key. Once they learn, then they can teach their daughters. And then once they teach that, they can go into the idea of, here's why I had a breast implant. This was my reason why, as that daughter gets older and she's more mature and able to talk about that subject, the mom can be honest and say, I had an augmentation because whatever her reason is. But I think we need to start talking about it. And you brought a great point up. Rather than just bra shopping, let's step it back a little bit and let's talk about, why are we bra shopping? What is a bra going to do for the breast? And how can we take care of our breasts? At the end of your day, when you've worn your bra, take your bra off and massage your breasts gently in private. That's something that will help your breasts drain, and the lymphatic tissue will drain and stay healthy, much like stretching a muscle.
No one ever said to me, take care of your breasts, and this is how you take care of your breasts, and this is how you massage your breasts, because...
Exactly. Massage your own breasts. That is a key. I love that you just brought that up, because that is our big challenge. It's maddening that no one's ever told you that. And that's part of the loophole we have in our medical system right now when it comes to breast care. All we focus on is exams and looking for problems, but no practitioner, very few anyways, are out there taking the time showing women or showing young girls how to take care of their breasts. And so massage is a very powerful way to take care of the breast, because the breast is so loaded with lymphatic tissue. And lymphatic tissue is what moves basically any toxins or any kind of waste out of the breast. And there's pictures that show the lymphatic tissue. It's like a big web that goes throughout the breast. And the only way lymphatic tissue moves is through massage, through gravity, like walking or bouncing, and through touch. So that's how, or muscle contraction, like that's how lymphatic tissue moves. It isn't like the heart, like the blood system. It actually needs touch. And that's a lot of times why when you have your breast massaged, it feels so good, because you're actually moving tissue that doesn't move. It gets stuck if you don't do something about it. But the first thing a young mother could teach her prepubescent daughter is that rubbing her breasts is normal and healthy. And that's something that the mother then has to also do in her life, because daughters watch us. They see what we're doing, sometimes more than the words that we're saying. And so that's an important thing to really incorporate in breast care and breast health, is just a basic 1-minute massage. And you can do circles, the shapes of circles. You can pull the breast tissue from the outside in, like from the armpit area, towards the nipple. You can stroke from the chest bone out towards the armpit, and you can go under the breasts and lift the breasts up and bring it up towards the collarbones. And that can be done even with an augmentation as well. You just have to obviously be gentle. You're not going to want to be squeezing really hard.
You have a video on this?
I do have a video on this, and it's part of that class that I have. But I do have a video on how to, I actually call it fluffing, breast fluffing. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Breast fluffing is actually amazing. It's very simple to explain. You basically take your shirt off, take your bra off, bend over at the waist, let your breasts hang down towards the ground, and put your hands under your breasts and fluff them up like you were fluffing a down bed. Yep.
Okay.
So you just fluff, and you move your hand around the sides of the breast, and you fluff them from the sides, and then you fluff them from the top up by the collarbones. And then in near the sternum, near the chest bone, you fluff going outwards. And that is actually the best way to move lymphatic tissue. So that's part of creating a healthy routine to take care of your breast fluffing. And then from there, you can lead right into a 30-second breast massage where you're doing a little bit firmer pressure, massaging the breast.
And this should be done daily?
This is a daily practice. And it's something that I personally do every day when I get home. And I get into my pajamas, which is my favorite part of my day. So, usually at night, and I'll do this, and it takes 2 minutes. But those 2 minutes that you invest in your breast are going to pay off big time. It's very healthy for your breast, for the lymphatics.
You just said pay off big time. Let's define what that means.
Yes. So that's another big subject. So the next layer, deeper than just lymphatic tissue in the breast, has to do with emotions and energy that we contain in our breasts. And what that means is that our breasts hold feelings. And some of the key feelings that our breasts hold on the inside are feelings of unconditional love, that you trust life, that you feel like you're enough, and that you're sensual. And if you think about those themes, a lot of women struggle with those themes. They don't always trust life. And they often question, am I enough? Am I doing enough? And they are sensual, but they're not really sure what that means, or how can I be more sensual? And the unconditional love, we're very good about doing that for others, but we really struggle with unconditionally loving our own bodies. And so those energies live in the breast tissues. And so if we can become aware that those energies are there, then we can start even applying some self-talk towards our breasts as we're fluffing, as we're massaging. That becomes very interesting, actually. Does that make sense? That's kind of a lot.
Yes. What you're saying is there's a lot of emotions in our breasts. I think now we're going back to, do breasts define who we are? Are we not sensual if we don't have breasts that we are comfortable with or like? So that comes into a whole psychological discussion of, well, I don't like my breasts. I hate my breasts. They are not the shape I want, or they're too saggy, or they're too big, or they're too this. That interacts with your self-confidence and how you feel sexually. And again, it goes back to society's pressure.
Sure does.
About the perfect breast, or is there such a thing as the perfect breast, and getting us to accept bodies the way they are and the way they age. It's fine. People want implants. That's a personal choice. I hear what you're saying, and that's really complicated. We're saying, do our breasts define us as women?
It's very complicated.
Who we are. Are we a big breast?
Well, I don't think we are, but that's me personally. I think society defines it that way. But I think women individually need to go through the process of becoming friends with their breasts, whatever kind of breasts they have. And that is the big challenge. But it's one of those ones where if you take it slow and you take it step by step, you will eventually come to loving your breasts, but it takes time. It's a relationship you have to build with your breasts. And many women are very uncomfortable with that. The very thought of even touching their own breasts scares them.
Now that's interesting.
And that's where,
that is very interesting. I've never really had this conversation with anyone, but
yeah, I have a lot of women who say that to me. Like, they don't even want to touch their breasts because they're afraid they're going to find something wrong.
For a woman to be afraid to touch their breasts because of fear of breast cancer.
It's really prevalent. It's more common than you think. And so women, what they do is they're just like, forget it. I'm just not going to do anything, and I'll just ignore it. And I'm going to hope that everything is okay. And it's in the hoping that we create that stress. And then there's where that psychology fits in. Is the hoping leaves the door open to a lot of room for negativity, a lot of room for not loving our breasts, a lot of room for not feeling sensual. Do you see what I mean? Like, then the door is really easy to go down that path of negativity and just ignoring and shutting the door and sweeping it under the rug. When we need to bring it out, we need to open the door, and we need to start looking at our breasts. We can start small steps. We can even just start thinking about, what does this mean that I'm going to start having a relationship with my breasts? Does it mean I have to go full on and massage right away? No. It just means thinking about it. And maybe eventually looking at them in the mirror and investigating them and noticing what your thoughts are when you see your breasts. Like, oh, I hate my breasts. I hate what they look like. They're sagging. And then all of a sudden you got to remember, you got to pick words that help you. If you're going to hate your breasts, you have to know that that's not a place that your body wants to be. It's not a happy place for it to live. It doesn't want to live there. It wants to live in harmony with you. So if we can start doing some positive self-talk when we see our breasts and touch our breasts, that's where the payoffs come. That's where you start to make a relationship with your breast. And that's important, because then you can become more sensual Then you can communicate better with your partner about what you like or don't like. And then you can start to realize that you can even have more feelings in your breasts that you may never had before. Your nipples become more sensitive. Things are more erotic. And that's amazing. That's an amazing feeling to know that you can control that and you can open up to that.
Do you think it's important that women look at other breasts and see that their breasts are normal? Because breasts come in so many shapes and sizes. And I think that perhaps a lot of women are uncomfortable with their breasts because they think, oh, well, am I the only one that has breasts like these? So if you go online and you look at plastic surgeons' websites and you see the before and after, you see all different types of shapes and sizes of breasts. I don't think, but I don't know that girls are exposed to all this as they mature and enter puberty, that they understand that their breasts are just one of many, many breasts that are out there, and that there is nothing wrong with their breasts because everyone is unique and breasts come in all these shapes and sizes.
Yes.
I was never told that.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's a very positive thing to tell a young girl. You know, and young girls now have a different situation than, say, you and I did when we were their age, because they have access to all of the websites. They have access to this information. I'm watching my daughters get inundated with what they should look like, what they should wear, what their breasts should look like, what kind of underwear they should wear. And I do think it's important to tell a girl and a woman, your breasts are your breasts, and everyone has a different kind. And whether you get an augmentation or not, that's personal choice. But your breasts are what you got. And you need to love them just like they are. And if you want to change them, you're free to do that. You can do that. But it has to be done, you know, with a very clear head and a clear intention. That's important for girls to know they come in all shapes. I agree with you.
What you said right there, a clear intention of wanting to augment their breasts. Why do I want to augment my breasts? Do I want to augment my breasts for myself to make me feel better because I want to look a certain way in clothes? But if I'm looking a certain way in clothes, am I objectifying my breasts for other people to look at?
Well, that would be a good question for any woman to ask before they augment. And are they doing it for themselves, or are they doing it for external sources? Because I have a friend who got an augmentation, just a slight increase in her breasts, and she loves them. She loves how she feels. She did it for herself because she was flat chested, and she feels completely different now because she had that augmentation. And it was about, for her, we had a long talk actually. I said, are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing this to please other people? She said, I'm doing it for myself because I want to feel good. That is an excellent reason to get an augmentation.
Well, we want to feel good, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper with that.
Good.
We want to feel good, and self-confidence, of course, plays a big role in that. And women compare themselves to other women. It is what it is. So yes, we're doing it for ourselves, but we're also doing it for other women. And we're also doing it, again, to objectify our breasts because people are looking at our body, right? In the clothes that we wear. So it's complicated psychologically. You're doing it for yourself on one hand to make yourself feel more self-confident, right? And on the other hand, you really are, if you're honest with yourself, you are also doing it for other women, not so much men.
Possibly. I mean, that's going to be individual, really. Depends on the person.
Right. But I think women look at each other.
Sure they do. Sure they do.
I may be warped because I work in the plastic surgery industry. I may be jaded.
Maybe.
So I don't know. If I asked a woman here in Berkeley who doesn't really care and doesn't even wear a bra, then she probably would have a different opinion about what I just said. Yeah, I am a little jaded. I have to be honest about that. I really do. I think women dress and want to look good for themselves, but also a little bit for women. And, you know, I don't know exactly what that's about psychologically, but that's what I see.
Yeah. I mean, that's your perspective, and that's totally good. I mean, I don't have that same perspective. Maybe it's living in Wisconsin. I don't know, but maybe a different location than where you're at. But I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like, I'll notice other women's breasts, but I don't overanalyze it. I'll just look at it and go, oh, okay. Especially usually bigger women. Yeah, right.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, leaving it like that.
Right, and that's where I leave it. but that's just me.
I'm not talking about going beyond that. We are aware of what other women look like.
We are. And that's how they're complicated, because they're the most forward thing on our body. They take a lot of hits. They really do. They take hits. They take judgment. They take hits from other women, probably even more so from other women and men as well, oogle and want to touch breasts. And you should see how crazy it gets when I talk about breasts and breast health around men. They don't know what to do. They get uncomfortable because, to a man, breasts are different than they are to a woman. And that's totally fine, whatever. But this is a conversation that men should be involved with too, because this is something that's psychologically difficult because our breasts are complicated. They're forward. They're right there for everybody to see. And they're sensual, sexual, and they feed baby. So those things right there, enough, make it complicated. And then you're right. We objectify them and we wear tight shirts and we do things to promote our breasts. And that is a reality. And so what do we do about that? Nothing. I don't know. We have to talk about it.
It's not going to change. And I don't know if there's anything to do about it. I think you're right. Awareness about your breasts and taking care of your breasts and understanding your own psychology behind your breasts and accepting or not accepting the way they look.
Yes, that's good.
I mean, that's a personal choice. And I don't think there's anything wrong with not accepting the way they look and wanting to improve that. I mean, I can't make that judgment because that's unfair to make.
Next time you look at, see another woman in her breasts, maybe soften a little in your own mind. Like, don't be so hard to judge.
It's interesting because there is a woman that I know, maybe she's a little bit younger than myself. And when I see her and she's dressed up for work and she's in front of people and she doesn't have a bra on, I notice that. I don't know if anyone else notices that. In my mind, I think, why is she not wearing a bra? Why is she showing that her breasts are so saggy? And again, this is probably my warped mind being in the industry. But that's what I think of when I look at her. I say to myself, wow, I wish I could just say to her, your body would look so much prettier and I wouldn't focus so much on your breasts that are dangling down. What's that? Of course, I would never say anything to her, but it goes through my head.
That's a tough one.
Because she's a very conservative looking woman. Now, either it looks like she doesn't have a bra on. Maybe she does, and it has no support whatsoever. I don't understand it. I guess it's not meant for me to understand. It's none of my business.
But it goes through your head. I mean, I appreciate your honesty.
It's just, that's how I react to it.
Right. And that's the psychology. That's the psychology behind the breasts. Yeah, right. You want to fix her breasts. And that's because you're in the industry. I mean, that's part of it. Part of it is that you are immersed in breasts. So you do see breasts. You notice them. That's
and you're right how people are uncomfortable. There was, so I belong to Toastmasters. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes, I do. I've done Toastmasters.
Okay. Several years ago, there was a woman who had a boob job and she did a talk about her girls and she called them her girls and she was really proud of her new breasts and she started touching her breasts as she's talking. And boy, I got to tell you, was the audience uncomfortable? Yeah. They called her afterwards and they said to her, you can't do that in this club. And I loved it because she was so natural and so excited. And her talk was so great. And I didn't care that she was touching her breasts. I mean, she had a bra and she wasn't taking off her shirt.
Right.
She was just letting people know that she's got new girls and she's got to take care of them now differently. And it was so liberating and so honest. Yet the people in the audience, for the most part, got real uncomfortable.
I know. And this is a common theme, Michelle. It's I mean, look at women who are trying to breastfeed in public. I mean, it's like you should go to jail.
Oh, I remember that. I remember my father-in-law. When he would say to me, can't you do that in private? Why are you doing that? You should just give the baby a bottle. And this was in the 80s.
Exactly.
But still in the
Right.
80s, a lot of women were out in restaurants and covering their breast, and they would breastfeed, and I would breastfeed out in the open, and I would cover my breast. He was so uncomfortable.
Well, right. And here we go again. It's all about them. They're uncomfortable. And we bend to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Why is he uncomfortable? Why is he uncomfortable seeing a little bit of my breast that is used to nurture?
And that's an awesome question to ask someone when they tell you that very thing. It's a great question. If they say you should really be doing that in private, and you can say, why is this so uncomfortable for you? They won't know what to say. It's actually an amazing thing to throw back at people, because people don't even know why they're uncomfortable. That's the bottom line.
Well, I think they're uncomfortable. I think men are uncomfortable because to them, breast equals sex.
Right. That's true.
And they can't separate the breast from the
that's
sex.
That's probably a very true fact. But I do think as women, we do have to speak up more. And
that's true.
And the more we become in relationship with our breasts, the more empowered we feel to speak up. And that's the bottom line behind all of this breast health talk, is empowering through awareness. The more we can become aware, the more then we have courage to talk and to share thoughts. And that's really where we have to go. We have to go with that.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the best bra is a no bra.
Right.
And I got this off of your website.
Right.
That says the best bra is no bra because when we wear a bra, it slows down the drainage of the lymph, much like a clogged drain pipe.
So I'm a realist. Let me just throw that out there first. So I work all day long and I wear a bra, right? Because I think it's important to support my tissues. Now, the one thing I don't use is an underwire. And I don't use an underwire because an underwire can block the lymphatic tissue from flowing more freely. So secondly, since I'm a realist, I'll wear a bra during the day. But when I get home at night, the bra comes off because I want to let my breasts move freely so that they can have blood and have lymphatic tissue move through them. And I don't want to restrict them. And I'm also an athlete, so I wear a sports bra because I don't want my breasts bouncing all around, which loosens ligaments and causes them to sag more, right? So I'm going to support my breasts when I'm doing activities, but the minute I'm home, I take my bra off. Now, there are plenty of purists who say never wear a bra, and that's fine. People can have that opinion. For me, I'm more about awareness, understand what the bra's for, and then give your breasts time without a bra, which some women even sleep in a bra. And I think it's important to give them space and to give them room to breathe, per se, and to move. And that's how we keep them healthy. And that's how I'm promoting health with my patients and with my friends and family is just use some, just use some good decision making with bras. If you can get rid of those underwires, you're going to also have a lot more comfortable situation. You're not going to have anything digging in. And we get used to it, but if we can find good bras without underwires, that's a positive. Bras really restrict movement. And I think it's an important part of moving the lymphatic tissue fluid because the lymphatic tissue doesn't have its own pump. It moves, via muscle contraction or gravity or massage. So those are the three ways lymphatic tissue moves. And if every woman understood that, they would know why it's important to have a little time with your bra off and to allow the tissue to move around freely.
Basically, what I hear is that your breasts are part of your overall health to help you feel good. And that we're not educated. We're just educated that they're just your breasts and wear a bra, don't wear a bra, wear a sexy bra, wear wires, don't wear wires. But no one really talks to us about your breasts are really part of your body. Right. They are part of your body, but they have a function other than sexually, sensually, and to breastfeed children. That's what I hear your overall philosophy is. It's important for us to integrate that into taking care of ourselves and thinking about our whole body as being healthy. Is that where you're coming from?
Absolutely. And they need to be taken care of. So that's part of the problem. We're not taught. We're just taught that there are things that happen to us. And, the other thing we haven't talked about in breast health is the armpit and the lymphatics that live in the armpit, because that's a whole nother issue as well. What we put in our armpits and what goes into our lymphatic tissue. And if we're not moving our breasts around, if they're staying tight all the time, well, then toxins are going to build up inside the breast. And that's actually one of the major causes of some particular breast cancers is that very thing.
Really?
So it is worthy of a conversation.
Now, do you agree or disagree that bras help prevent sagging and drooping over time?
They do. I agree. They do contribute. But honestly, our breasts are going to sag. Unless you have an augmentation, your breasts are going to sag. That's a reality. That's just how it is. Whether you wear a bra or not, your breasts are going to sag because they're ligaments, and ligaments decrease in integrity over time. That's just what happens.
Well, don't you think, though, that an underwire bra gives more support to the breasts?
But there's a lot of great bras out there that don't have underwire. So the reason I don't like underwire is because I think it's just an added layer of pressure to the breast that can block the lymphatic tissue. And it's really not that important. You can still get great bras that make your breasts look great and feel great without an underwire. I don't own a bra with an underwire. I used to before I knew this information in my 20s, before no one talked to me about how to take care of my breasts. But now I never wear an underwire. And plus, if I even try one on, it just hurts. I can really feel the pressure digging in, especially like near the armpit and near the chest bone.
Okay. Listeners can go to your website and see the list of bras that you have. As a takeaway for our audience that has, let's say, young daughters, what would you recommend? And women just in general, what would you say to them? A couple of tips.
I think a couple of tips. The simplest thing to start off to bring a little more health to your breasts is to just become aware of having a small relationship with your breast. Begin to pay attention to your breasts. When you get home at the end of your day, take that minute or two and take your breasts, take the bra off, let the breasts breathe, maybe touch your bra and your breasts, and let yourself just experience your own breasts in private with no one else around. So there's no risk of anything happening. Just take time to be private with your breasts and learn how to massage them. Begin that process of learning. And there's so many videos out there. You can YouTube it, massaging your breasts. I mean, you're going to get everything if you YouTube that, but know that there's no wrong way to massage it. And if you just begin to start to touch your breasts, you're going to do a lot more good than not touching them. So those are two very simple things to start with. And obviously, maybe look into the bra situation. No underwire bras.
Remove your bra when you come home at night. Learn how to fluff up your breasts. Learn how to massage your breasts and develop a relationship with those girls.
Yes, begin to have that relationship. And as you do that, you're going to be more interested in learning a little bit more about breasts. And that's the biggest thing that we've already touched on, is just that awareness. When you have an awareness, then you have the first step of empowerment, because then you're going to want to know more. And if anything comes from this conversation today, I hope it's that people become more aware that our breasts are more than just this thing that lives on the front of our chest. They're actually very complicated.
And listeners can go to your website where you have a class, an online class about your breast health.
Yes, I do. I have an online class. Young girls can take it, although I've had an 80-year-old woman has taken it. So it's an awesome class and it's empowering. And that's the reason I designed it, was to empower women to learn how to take care of their breasts. This is an important subject, as you know.
And where can listeners find your class?
They can find it on my website. It's ColleenHathaway.com. And then it's under the online class tab.
Okay. And is there a cost to it?
I'm actually going to send you a link, but I will give the listeners a link for half off. And that's the code half off, and they'll get half off the class.
Okay. So listeners, put the link in, half off, and that's at ColleenHathaway.com. And it's ColleenHathaway.com with the code half off.
Yep. HALF. That would be great. I would love that. I just want women to get the information. That's my biggest goal. Get this information out and help empower them and get the conversation going. Start talking about it. So thank you, Michele, for doing that.
Yes, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, because all this information was really interesting. I loved it. And listeners can also follow Colleen on Instagram at Breast Wellness.
Correct.
And Facebook at Colleen Hathaway DC.
Yes.
And for your chiropractic practice, it's in Wisconsin.
Yes, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. Yep.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to Boob Talk. If you are considering plastic surgery, I can help you navigate through the confusion so that you are empowered to make the right aesthetic choices. You can contact me at 415-494-7211 or at info@niptuckcoach.com. I see clients in my San Francisco office as well as Beverly Hills, or we can Skype consultations. To find out more about my consulting and aftercare services, please visit my website at niptuckcoach.com. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at niptuckcoach. Show notes are available on niptucktalk.com. You can download this episode on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. And remember, you only have one face and one body. Choose wisely. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Nip Tuck Talk Show with Michele Garber. We hope you enjoyed our show. We want to hear from you. If you have questions, show suggestions, or comments, email Michele at info@niptuckcoach.com or leave a message on our Facebook fan page at Nip Tuck Talk Show. To contact Michele directly, call 415-494-7211. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Podbean. If you like this podcast, please tell your friends. Thanks again for listening to the Nip Tuck Talk Show, your plastic surgery connection. Be beautiful, not botched.